All right, let's do this. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into a career that's literally shaping our world. Concrete pump operators.
It's one of those jobs most people don't even think about, but it's absolutely essential in modern construction. I mean, these are the folks making sure that concrete, the very foundation of our buildings and bridges, gets placed with pinpoint accuracy.
Right. It's amazing. It's like this perfect blend of operating heavy machinery and having all this technical expertise.
Totally. You're not wrong. It's not just muscle, though. A good operator needs a sharp eye for detail.
Yeah.
They got to be able to troubleshoot problems on the fly and really understand those safety regulations inside and out, because you're working with high-pressure equipment, sometimes at crazy heights.
Speaking of safety, what's an average day like for a concrete pump operator?
Well, every day is different. That's part of the excitement. You could be in a bustling city one day, carefully squeezing that pump truck around obstacles.
I can imagine that takes some serious skill.
Oh, absolutely. Like a dance with a multi-ton machine. Then the very next day, you could find yourself on a huge infrastructure project, pumping concrete for a bridge or a dam, putting in long hours to meet those deadlines.
So you got to be adaptable.
That's the name of the game.
Yep.
And don't forget the physical part. Operators are on their feet most of the day, outside in all kinds of weather. Rain or shine, that concrete's got to flow.
Sounds like you need some serious grit and resilience for this job. But I'm guessing there's some pretty great perks, too, right?
Oh, definitely. There's nothing like seeing a structure rise from the ground up and knowing you are a part of it. Plus, skilled operators are always in demand, so job security and good salaries come with the territory.
Now, that's something everyone likes to hear. But I gotta think there's more to it than just a paycheck and a pat on the back.
Right. You're right on the money. Many operators will tell you it's the teamwork and camaraderie that keeps them coming back. You're part of a tight-knit group working towards a common goal. That sense of community is huge in the construction world.
I bet that human connection makes a big difference, especially in a demanding field like this. So you mentioned the demand for skilled operators. Let's talk career path. How does someone even get started in this field?
Well, it's not something you just stumble into. It takes dedicated training and on-the-ground experience. Most operators begin as laborers or helpers, getting a feel for the industry from the ground up.
So it's a real apprenticeship. You earn your stripes through hands-on learning.
Exactly. As they get more experience and build their confidence, aspiring operators can become pump operator assistants. They work side by side with experienced operators to learn all the ins and outs of the equipment and the actual pumping process. That's where they really start to hone those technical skills and understand the science of concrete.
So you're not just learning how to work the machine, you're learning the why behind it.
You got it. A good operator knows how different concrete mixes flow, how to adjust the pump pressure for different jobs, and how to troubleshoot when things go wrong.
It's way more technical than people realize.
Absolutely. And those technical skills only become more critical as operators move up the ranks.
Which brings us to career progression for a concrete pump operator. How do you climb that concrete ladder? Let's break it down. Starting with those entry-level positions.
Okay, so you got your assistant who's been putting in the work learning the ropes.
Yeah.
Once they've got a solid grasp of the equipment and the processes, they can become a certified concrete pump operator. Usually this means a mix of on-the-job training and formal certification programs. Those are often offered through industry groups or technical schools.
So it's a combination of real-world experience and formal education.
Exactly. And these programs are rigorous. They cover everything from the mechanics of the pump and hydraulic systems to concrete technology and safety protocols. We're talking the whole 9 yards.
Wow, it sounds incredibly thorough.
It has to be. Ultimately, the crew's safety and the project's success rest on the operator's shoulders. They're the ones making sure the concrete flows smoothly and the job gets done right. No pressure, though.
That's a lot of responsibility. It really shows the skill and knowledge these operators have.
For sure. And with more experience comes the chance to take on bigger projects. Lead crews even manage entire pumping operations. It's a career with room to grow.
So there's a clear path for advancement. But what does that look like day to day? What are the actual roles and responsibilities? Let's start with those junior level positions.
At the junior level, you're handling the day-to-day pump operation, working hand-in-hand with the on-site crew to ensure accurate and efficient concrete placement.
You're right in the thick of it.
100%. It's a hands-on role that needs physical stamina, technical know-how, and top-notch communication. You're constantly talking with the crew, adjusting on the fly, and troubleshooting any problems that pop up.
It sounds like a job that needs a good mix of technical expertise and people skills.
You nailed it. A great junior operator isn't just good with the equipment. They're a team player who can communicate clearly under pressure and adapt to whatever comes their way. And as they gain more experience and take on more responsibility, they can move into those senior positions.
Okay, so let's talk about those senior roles. What does it take to reach that mid-level and beyond in this field?
While moving up from the junior level often takes more than just putting in your time.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's not just about your years on the job. It's about how deep your knowledge goes, your leadership skills, and your dedication to safety.
So you need to be a well-rounded professional.
You got it. And that's what separates those who stay at the junior level from those who climb to the mid-level and beyond.
This is really fascinating. Can you give us some real-world examples of what sets apart those mid-level and senior operators? What are employers looking for?
Absolutely. Let me tell you about a colleague of mine. We'll call him John. John started as a laborer, like a lot of folks in this industry. He was a real go-getter, always asking questions and volunteering for anything. He quickly moved up to pump operator assistant and then became a certified operator. What made John stand out wasn't just his technical skills with the pump, which were impressive. It was his problem solving. I remember one job we were on a high-rise building and the concrete started clogging in the pipeline. It was a real-time crunch because any delay would have cost a fortune.
I bet that was stressful. So what did John do?
He didn't even flinch.
Oh,
John systematically figured out what was going on. He found a blockage way down in the system.
oh no.
But here's the thing. He came up with this ingenious solution using compressed air and some quick thinking, cleared the blockage without having to take apart any of the piping. Saved the day.
Wow, that's some next-level problem solving.
You said it. That's what makes a mid-level operator so valuable. They're not just following a checklist. They're predicting problems, thinking critically, and finding creative solutions to keep those projects on track.
So experience is crucial, but it's that ability to think on your feet and solve problems that makes you stand out. What about leadership, though? How does that play into reaching the top in this field?
That's where true leadership comes in. Senior-level operators aren't just responsible for their own work. They're often overseeing whole crews, managing multiple pumps on large-scale projects, and mentoring the next generation of operators.
So they become mentors themselves, passing on their knowledge. It's like a cycle.
Exactly. They've gone from eager student to the seasoned expert guiding the future of the field, one concrete pour at a time.
I love that. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about how this career is evolving. What does the future hold for concrete pump operators? Are there any new trends or technologies that up-and-coming operators should know about?
That's a great question, and it's more relevant than ever with how fast the construction industry is changing. One of the biggest trends is automation and digitalization. It's really shaking things up.
Technology is everywhere. And it sounds like the construction industry is no exception.
Not at all.
Yeah.
We're seeing more and more advanced software sensors and even robotics being used in concrete pumping. It's making the job more efficient, more precise, and honestly, way more interesting.
More interesting. Tell me more about these technologies. How are they impacting concrete pump operators?
Okay, so one of the coolest developments is using 3D modeling and what's called building information modeling, or BIM software. These tools let operators see the whole project in a virtual world before they even set foot on the site.
So they can essentially walk through the project beforehand and spot any potential issues.
Exactly. They can see obstacles, plan where to put the pump, and even run simulations of different pouring scenarios to make sure everything goes smoothly.
It's like having a crystal ball for concrete pouring.
Pretty much. This level of precision was unheard of just a few years back, but it's quickly becoming standard.
So the concrete pump operator role is changing from a mostly hands-on job to one that needs some serious tech skills.
You're getting it. The modern operator has to be comfortable with software data analysis and digital control systems.
It's a far cry from just pushing levers.
You could say that again.
Hmm.
But don't get me wrong. Those core skills, like running the pump, understanding the concrete, and working well with a crew, are still crucial.
It's about bringing the old and new together.
Right. It's about using these advancements to do the job better, safer, and with higher quality.
So for anyone who's interested in a career that combines physical work with cutting-edge tech, this could be it. But let's say you've decided this is the path for you, you've done your homework, and you've landed that interview. What should you expect? What are employers looking for in a concrete pump operator candidate? We'll tackle that right after this break.
And we're back. Ready to dive into those concrete pump operator interviews?
Let's do it. Getting the interview is a win in itself. But knowing how to handle those questions, well, that can be the difference between a job offer and starting your job search all over again. So picture this. You're face-to-face with the hiring manager. What are some typical questions they might throw your way? And how do you knock those answers out of the park?
First things first. Remember, it's not just about answering questions. It's about telling your story.
I like that, showcasing your passion, how you got here.
You got it. And one question you can almost bet on is, what made you want to be a concrete pump operator? This is your chance to go beyond, I like working with my hands.
Dig a little deeper. Tell them what really sparked your interest.
Right. Maybe you're fascinated by the mechanics of these huge pumps. Or maybe you've got a personal connection to construction, a family member in the business, or maybe you were just mesmerized by construction sites as a kid. Whatever it is, let your excitement show.
Authenticity is key. We talked earlier about how important safety is in this line of work, so I'm sure interviewers are going to want to see if you understand those protocols.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A common question about safety might be something like, tell me about a time you had to deal with a safety hazard on a job site. Even if you haven't officially been an operator, you've probably spent time on construction sites and seen safety procedures in action.
That's where those early days as a laborer or assistant come in handy.
For sure. Think back to a specific time when you noticed a potential hazard. How did they handle it? What did you learn? It shows you're paying attention and that safety is a priority for you.
It proves you don't just follow the rules. You actively think about safety.
Exactly. Another one they often ask is, how do you stay current on the latest technologies and best practices in the industry?
Ooh, good one. That shows you're committed to learning and growing, not just sticking with what you already know.
Exactly. This is where you can highlight your dedication to keeping your skills sharp. Mention industry magazines you read, like Concrete Construction or the American Concrete Pumping Association's magazine, Concrete Pumping.
Pro tip right there.
Shows you're in the loop and you're actively trying to learn. You can even talk about online forums or groups where you connect with other operators and stay updated on new developments.
So it's about more than just learning on the job. You're actively searching out information and engaging with the wider professional community. Love it.
Exactly. And that drive to learn and grow, that's huge in any career, but especially in one that's always evolving with new technology and techniques, like concrete pumping.
Speaking of technology, we talked before about automation and how digitalization is changing concrete pumping. I bet employers want to know if you can handle those advancements. What kind of questions might they ask to figure that out?
Well, they might ask about specific software you've used, like BIM software or hydraulic simulation programs. Or they might want to know if you're comfortable using tablets or other devices on site, things like monitoring concrete or controlling the pump.
So it's not just about working the pump, it's about navigating all the tech that's becoming standard on the job.
You got it. And don't be afraid to be honest. If you haven't used a certain program or technology, just say so. What matters is that you're ready to learn new things and adapt.
Having that growth mindset is so important. Okay, last question, but it's a big one. It's the one that can trip up even the most qualified people. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes. The question that leaves people scrambling for something smart to say, but it's actually a golden opportunity to show you're really interested and you're proactive.
So what are some questions that go beyond the typical, what are the benefits, or when do I start?
Instead of focusing on you, turn the tables and focus on the company and the position. You could ask, what do you think are the biggest challenges facing the concrete pumping industry in the coming years? That shows you're thinking critically about the future of the field.
And it lets the interviewers share their own thoughts and experiences.
Exactly. Or try something like, what opportunities are there for professional development and advancement within the company? Shows ambition and that you're looking for a long-term fit.
Now, those are great questions. It turns that last question into a chance to connect and shows that you're not just there for a job, you're looking for a career.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And remember, interviews are a two-way street. You're figuring out if the company's right for you, just as much as they're seeing if you're right for them.
That's so important. Okay, let's move on to what happens after the interview. So you're through the interview. They loved your enthusiasm. You nailed those technical questions. And now you're playing the waiting game. What happens next in the hiring process for concrete pump operators?
Well, it varies from company to company, but generally they'll do some reference checks, maybe a background check, and sometimes even a practical skills test.
A skills test? You mean they might actually get you to operate a pump?
It's not unusual, especially for those higher level positions. They want to see with their own eyes that you can handle the equipment,
Yeah.
safely, and that you can get the job done.
Makes sense. It's one thing to talk about it, but can you actually walk the walk, or I guess in this case, pump the pump?
Huh. I like that. And those practical tests can actually be good for you, too. Gives you a chance to show off what you can do in a real-world situation. Maybe even get a feel for the company's equipment and how they work.
It's like a trial run for everyone involved. So let's say you've gone through all that, you impress them every step of the way, and boom, the offer comes in. Congratulations. But before you sign anything, what are some things you should really look at when you're weighing a job offer in this field?
Well, obviously, salary is a big one. Do your research, know what the going rate is, and know what you're worth. But there's more to it than just the money. Benefits are huge in this line of work. It's physically demanding.
No doubt. Healthcare disability insurance, you definitely don't want to skip over those.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And don't be shy about asking about professional development. Do they help pay for those certification courses we talked about? What about internal training or mentoring programs? Those can be invaluable.
Those are really smart questions to ask. It shows them that you're thinking long-term about your career.
Yeah, exactly. And last but not least, pay attention to the company culture. See if you can chat with people who work there, get a vibe for the place. Is it a team environment? Do they support each other? Does the company actually care about safety and helping their employees grow?
That's huge.
Yeah.
You want to find a company that matches your values and your career goals. Well said. We've covered a lot in this deep dive. Everything from the ins and outs of operating a concrete pump to the technology that's changing the game, and of course, how to prepare for that all-important interview.
It's been great sharing my thoughts with you and giving you a glimpse into the world of concrete pumping.
And as always, we really appreciate you joining us on this journey of discovery. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with something to think about. We've touched on how robotics are becoming more common in a lot of industries, construction included. Is it possible that one day we'll have fully automated concrete pumps, ones that are run entirely by robots? Or will that human touch, the skill, the intuition, the ability to adapt, will that always be essential in a hands-on profession like this one? It's something to ponder. Until next time, keep those brains engaged.